Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining this very first webinar of the What's New in IHE Domain webinar. And thank you to Andrei and Lynn for volunteering to explain you what is new in IHE Radiology and what will be tested in June in Vienna. So just before we start, if you can move to the next slide, Lynn, a bit of organization. So please keep your microphone muted. If you have questions, you can use the chat box. We will answer them after the presentation. And the webinar is recorded and it will be made available on IHE-Europe YouTube channel with all the other material. So for this webinar, so we will have a brief reminder of what's a connectathon, what will be happening in Vienna. And then Lynn and Andrei will show you what is the evolution of the IHE radiology profiles, what the latest news, and we will focus on a few profiles before we can dive into what will be actually tested at the connectathon. So this year we will be in Vienna again, the last week of June. So what the connectathon, so that's a formal interoperability testing event where you will meet your peers. So it's really industry focused. We are testing real implementation of the IHE profiles. So it's the best place to test your IHE implementation. You will find and fix bugs in your product because during the whole week you are allowed to fix bugs, recompile and test again until you manage to complete the test. It's the place where you will be able to complete the last mile of your software development in the sense that you will have several partners to test with, and maybe you will find some cases you did not take into account in your previous test. That's an opportunity to share with experts. So we'll have a team of monitors. They are experts, consultants in IHE and the standards. Some of them are the authors of IHE profiles. They will be there to verify your work, but also to advise you and to give you lights on the profiles. You will have a chance to meet with other professionals who face or may have faced the same challenges as you do. And it's for sure a place where you learn a lot from the community. So registration is still open till 15th of March. It's a 3-step registration. So first you will have to complete a form in ClickUp. It will generate your contract. And then you can log into the Gazelle test management tool. It is where you will perform your technical registration by creating your system under test and listing all the actor profiles you want to test in Vienna. It's not because you register, I mean, you can register now for a few profiles, and if for some reason you are not ready by June, it's not an issue. We can adjust your registration accordingly. And the other way around, if you achieve more than you think, we can add profiles last minute. So everything is available on IHE-Europe connectathon website. And if you have any questions or issues, feel free to reach out to me, or I think there's also a link in ClickUp where you can enter your issue within a form, and it will direct to either Claudio if it's administrative or me if it's technical. So the Connectathon is not the only event we will have in Vienna. We will have several Pluggathon tracks. The IHE Experience Days, so it's 1 day and a half of conferences. Registration are also open. We will have Projectathon. So Elga is an Austrian project, and there's other meetings and events. I think it's all for the general introduction. So Lynn, Andrei, the floor is all yours.
All right. Let me start. My name is Andrei Leontiev. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect with Visage Imaging and the co-chair of the IHE Radiology Technical Committee. Let us talk a little bit about the profile evolution in IHE Radiology. As most of you are probably aware, but for a few folks who are maybe newcomers to this, the IHE Radiology was actually the first domain in IHEs, and it was spearheaded significantly by the fact that in 1990 we had PACS deployment, which fairly quickly came to the understanding that there is a need for interoperability of all different systems like RIS, PACS, HIS, and modalities in the radiology domain. And that caused creation of the very first IHE Radiology Technical Framework with definition of scheduled workflow profile, which fairly quickly followed by a number of others, including the consistency in presentation, exchange of portable media, and ultimately creating the profile for the exchange of images. In 2008, advance of VNA also caused a work related to how the PACS systems would talk to the vendor-neutral archive, what kind of variability need there, which culminated in creating the IOCM profile, which is now being used quite widely, followed by also creation of the second generation of scheduled workflow profile. Both of those are quite widely used, not only in the US, but pretty much across the globe now, because majority of the systems are natively supporting many of these. Enterprise imaging came along in 2015, and IHE followed the suit by introducing more profiles related to some of the interoperability needs in that area, which is not nearly complete. And we continued working on that for the continuous years. Appearance of AI models in 2017 or so created another significant demand, which was initially very limited, but eventually got to the fact that IHE understood the significant need in the interoperability in that realm. So as we come closer to today, where we'll see that IHE is focusing nowadays quite significantly on the AI and also on the reporting creation of the diagnostic reports and managing them. And that we'll see. One more click, please, Lynn. That brings us to some of the profiles which were introduced this year in the previous year. So that's a pretty long way for IHE Radiology and the number of profiles that have been introduced. Next slide, please. So the new profiles which have been developed by IHE in this cycle and are coming to public comment as we speak in 2025. Let me talk about that a little bit. One of them is the cross-community web-based image access profile, which is now available for public comment. And it's based on the initially developed XCAI profile, which have been in trial implementation for quite a while, but eventually was incorporated in technical framework. But it was based on the outdated web services paradigms. So this profile being very significantly based on the original profile introduces the capability of using modern RESTful web services in DICOM web transactions to allow communication through cross-community lines, including the federation or having the ability to have communities which are held within larger communities. For example, the smaller community of few organization inside of more of a regional community and things like that. Well, we can talk more about that if we want to. The other profile is actually not a profile by itself, but more of an extension of the profile currently in trial implementation, which is encounter-based imaging workflow, but it extends significantly that profile to support the point-of-care ultrasound option. That very large area in imaging has its very specific interoperability requirements in image management and reporting. It introduces a couple of new actors to this profile and has been met with very large interest from the industry group and also from the users. There was a very large working group working on the defining the profile, which helped the IHE committee to draft what we have right now. And the last but not least is the profile, which is going to come for public comment in the next week or so, is the AI result assessment for imaging. Again, you could see that this is the AI focused profiles covering the area which have not been covered before, dealing with the assessment of results presented by particular models. Next slide. The profiles we talked about are not available for testing at Connectathon, but IHE Radiology Technical Committee is seeking comments and opinions from the participants of the Connectathon. The new profiles, which have been developed in the previous cycle, are now available and coming first time for Vienna Connectathon. Reject analysis and monitoring. These profiles standardizes storage query retrieval of the rejection notice are instances, essentially the documents that contain necessary information to do the analysis and subsequent QA and image reporting steps based on the facts of image quality rejections throughout the enterprise. The other profile is prioritization of work lists for reporting. Yet another one dealing with the reporting workflow that standardizes the communication of details relevant to the prioritization of studies on the medical imaging reading work list. Another profile is imaging diagnostic report, which has been developed primarily in the last cycle, and we expect it to be approved for trial implementation fairly soon. It's not going to be tested in this Connectathon, but most possibly in the following year. That's a large profile that we have been working for a while, and deals with the encoding of imaging-based reports, not only for radiology, but for a wide variety of imaging-based reports, and uses the FHIR-based encoding as its foundation. Next slide. There are newer profiles which have been in the trial implementation for about 2 years or so. The integrated reporting applications profile, which is dealing with multiple applications a radiologist uses to create a diagnostic report, exchange the information and staying in context, and exchanging the content as a process of creating that report. Eventually, this profile is expected to be used in conjunction with IDR profile, which will standardize the content of the diagnostic report, which is created as a result of a communication over the IRA profile. Interactive multimedia report profile is the first building block which IDR profile essentially extends. It deals specifically with ability to include links to multimedia, meaning the imaging results or images, or eventually some video and other content that may be augmenting the diagnostic report. And the contrast administration management profile, which is dealing with interoperability in exchanging the contrast agent administration details. Next slide. Just as a reminder, all these profiles can be found on the profiles.ihe.net site, the link that is in this presentation. Number of the profiles which are in trial implementation could be found on their own links, or their overuse could be found on their links. Worth to mention that the web-based image access and capture profiles now have been promoted to the final text, so they could be found in the most recent published IHE technical framework for radiology version 22. Next slide. And to go quickly from where our focus is. One, as we mentioned, is a web-based access to images. The two profiles that I just mentioned, they have been in final text. They are based on the DICOM web RESTful web services definitions, and have been in wild use already for quite a while. So all the vendors are encouraged to who want to utilize this newer paradigm to come to the Connectathon and test it. Next slide. In the last couple of years, we have added more in this area. One is by extending the XDSI profile by adding the WAD-ORS RESTful service transaction to that profile, allowing the retrieval of images to be done not only through the older technologies and older web service definitions, but also using the DICOM web, also adding additional capabilities to retrieve not only images, but also just image metadata or bulk data and things like that. The new profile which is the XCWIA we mentioned about, which is currently in public comment, is extending that same WAD-ORS transaction to be used across the boundaries of different communities. And it works in conjunction with the ITI domain XCA profile to allow such an exchange. All the definitions are in the profile, which is currently in public comment, could be found on in the public comment profiles area on IHE.net. And we welcome comments and thoughts about this profile. The other big area is workflow and content. Again, the profiles that have been already in trial implementation for quite a while, exchanging content and context between different applications, creating the links to the multimedia content. Those are part of the reporting paradigm. Next slide. And the other one is inclusion of AI results into the report, or being able to communicate AI results so they eventually can transition into the content of the diagnostic reports, and also managing the work lists for reporting. Again, those profiles which have been around for 2-3 years, well established, and we very much encourage everyone to look at the ability to test these profiles at Connectathon so they could be advanced to a final text. All, as you would see, there is a lot of transaction and AR results profile that allow exchanging the AI results in different formats and different encodings. Next slide. The extension of AI results profile, not even the extension, but rather the augmentation of that with additional functions and use cases, is the AI results assessment for imaging profile, which is currently in public comment, or will be in public comment in about a week. Is dealing with the quality of those AI results, allowing the radiologists to assess those results, accept, approve, or disapprove them, and have that information captured and then used for analytical purposes, the performance measurement purposes, and model in continuous education. And continuous learning in the models. The point of care is the last one we want to point out, is extension of the enterprise-based imaging workflow profile that crosses it crosses the lines a little bit between radiology and the enterprise imaging. Allows to manage images and reports which are created as part of the point-of-care ultrasound procedures. So with this additional option, the EBIW profile is extended by inclusion of POCUS manager and the image display actors, and defining the transactions and specific requirements for the transactions, like query images, retrieve images, which are still quite common in the radiology space, but putting additional requirements on those and for these specific purposes. Next slide.
I think that's
yeah,
that's the handoff to me.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Thanks, Lynn.
Sure.
All yours.
Good afternoon, good morning. My name is Lynn Felhofer. I am the radiology technical project manager. And what that means is I have two hats. I sit with the committee during specification development and work to make sure that the use cases are specified in a clear and testable way. And then my second hat is to translate those requirements into interoperability tests that are tested at Connectathon. And when I listened to Ann Gale about 15 minutes ago, she had a slide and I was smiling because her slide is just like mine. And so I won't repeat what she says, except to say that she and I share the same enthusiasm for the opportunity that the Connectathon offers to vendors, to implementers, to specific developers, to prove that your software is compliant with the specification. And so the only thing I'll add a couple of nuances to what Ann Gale said, and we have other presentations that are specifically about the benefits of Connectathon. So we'll just touch on it briefly here. When I looked at the list of attendees here, we have about half of veterans who I've known for many years at Connectathons, and I welcome those of you who are considering participation for the first time. So what's some of the unique things about it is really the focus on interoperability. Yes, we have test tools that test the compliance of your messages or your DICOM images or your documents, but the real focus is on use case testing, and the tests are documented, and the steps are specified and required, and the peer-to-peer testing happens between the engineers, and there's rigor in the recording of that exchange and the examination of the results, which happens in the IHE Connectathon with the observation by the neutral monitors, which are really sort of the secret sauce that makes this all happen. The other thing that I want to emphasize is that when Ann Gale talks about system under test, we see lots of different kinds of what we call systems, and we deliberately don't say the word product. We have everything from the next iteration of a product that's currently deployed in the field by some vendors to a new product or a new implementation, an existing product that they just want to do regression testing on with new partners that they may encounter at clinical sites, or something that's close to, the beginning of development, and you're not even sure if it's fully compliant. We accept all of those, and I think there are benefits to your development cycle in bringing all of those to the table. At the end of the Connectathon, IHE does publish successful results in our Connectathon results database. It's a place for you to succeed, and any shortcomings we don't call them failures, but if you don't quite make it, those kinds of results are opportunities for you to learn, but those aren't part of the published results. So we only publish successful results, and successful results do earn a Connectathon seal, which is new in the last year to year and a half, which allows you to advertise, for those of you who are in the marketing area, the successful results of your Connectathon participation. So from a radiology point of view, a common question we have during the system registration period, which is happening now until the middle of March, is what are we going to test in Vienna? And the answer to that question is dependent upon what vendors bring to the table to test. So system registration, the technical registration that Ann Gale described, involves you as a system under test to select the profile and actor combinations that you have implemented in your profile to address your portion of a specific use case. And when you register those, our Connectathon test management tool, we call Gazelle, partners you with the complementary actors. So you might be on the client side of a transaction. Other vendors may be on the server side of the transaction. And Gazelle Test Manager helps you see available partners. So I would expect, in fact, we are already seeing, because registration is ongoing, that we will have interest for newer technologies. I see some registrations for the integrated reporting applications, for the AI results. As well as our old favorites, radiology scheduled workflow. I'm confident we will test that in Vienna, and we have tested that every year on that big long timeline that Andrei described. Because people who have tested scheduled workflow in past still find value in bringing their implementations to Vienna to test against new partners and to verify that their implementation is still solid. I have a bullet there that says comment on the chicken and egg problem. So one of the problems that we have is like, if I come to the Connectathon, will I have the partners I need or want to test? And if you sit back in the corner, as you perhaps did in high school or secondary school, and wait for someone to ask you to dance, your partner might not know that you are interested. So what we encourage people to do during this registration period is to register for the things you are interested in, so other vendors who are also performing system registration can see that you are interested and can express their interest as well. If everybody sits back in the corner, it looks like nobody's interested, and the testing opportunities fall away. And as Angel said, we can always add things later, but the sooner you express your interest in testing, the more likely it is that we will have robust partners available for you in June. So this technical system registration, which is the profile actor combination selection, can be a challenge if you have never participated or registered at an IHE Connectathon. And essentially, it's an exercise in mapping the capabilities that you have in your product: web services capabilities, AI capabilities, DICOM, traditional DICOM, DIMSI capabilities, HL7 version 2, HL7 Fire. You know you have those implementations in your product. You know the use cases that you have, but you may not be as familiar with the IHE profiles to enable you to map and say, well, what specific IHE profile actors make sense for me based on what I have in my product. In addition to that, it's difficult because the technical framework, and I can show you the page later, is now, because of this 20 plus year evolution of IHE Radiology, a big bulk of documentation, and where do I start to read? And so what I am offering to first-time Connectathon participants, or if you are from a company who has tested in the past, but this is your first Connectathon, I'm happy to set up a time to talk with you and your team. Usually it's about 30 minutes. You can describe your product implementation to me, your interests and the use cases that you address, and I can help you map your product capabilities to IHE profiles and actors, and I can point you to the documentation because it's probably the case that IHE has added some constraints on HL7 Fire, HL7 version 2, or DICOM that may affect your compliance with the IHE profile. And I can tell you where to read so that you can make sure that you have the right direction and specification inside your product. So I'm happy to set up that time. Contact me in the next couple of weeks, and we'll set up a time to talk. So when IHE-Europe publishes these slides. These links will be active. IHE has sort of a one-pager of every IHE profile that's published on the wiki. If you're new, you might want to start there. The full IHE profile documentation, which includes the final technical framework, and the transaction specifications are on profiles.ihe.net. In addition, if you like videos versus reading text, we have IHE talented co-chair in the planning side who has created some YouTube videos for some of our newer profiles that are 5 or 6 minute videos that are not a nice dip into understanding the use cases that they provide, and I encourage you to check those out. So there's a link to a couple of those, and you can check those out afterwards. All of us, Andrei Wim from Philips, who is the second IHE technical co-chair, and Gail and I are here to help you on your journey to implementing IHE profiles. We encourage you to, from an IHE radiology point of view, get involved in the providing public comment. Some people think that these technical committees are sort of like ivory towers. I assure you that this is just normal people who are trying to solve interoperability profiles. They are open to anyone. If you think you might be interested or your company might be interested in participating in IHE Radiology, we'd love to have you. It's a great group. Contact us, and certainly anything related to participating in the Connect-a-thon and Gail is your first point of contact. So with 15 minutes to go, we can open up the floor to questions. I don't know who has access to the chat, and if there's any questions that we can address.
Thank you very much, Lynn and Andrei, for
Sure.
your presentation. There's no question right now.
Okay.
But don't be shy.
You could also unmute, given the fact that we're sort of at the end.
Yeah.
Any pointers you want to say at the end, Gail, as far as registration goes, or logistics?
We have currently, so because we have this administrative and technical registration, you might not see all the systems already in Gazelle because some participants are doing the two steps separately. So for now, the forecast, if I count the system in ClickUp and the system in Gazelle, I have, let me check, 25 systems. But it's too early yet to draw assumption on which profile will be testable or not.
Sure. Okay. Well, we certainly want to thank you for your joining us today. I look forward to working with all of you in Vienna, and Gail does as well. It's a wonderful week. For those of you who are first timers, I hope you join us. The first year can be a challenge, but once you do it, you can join the ranks of some of the people on this call who've done it for 10 plus years and continue to find value and come back year after year. So we hope to see you.
Yeah.